Hey, so we're looking at ticker symbol SOXQ. This is an index fund that follows the semiconductor industry. That's one of my top um, stock positions, so that's why I've included this on the list. We currently have the 1 month chart up on the screen based on Yahoo's financials. And the last time we looked at this was about 3 weeks ago on the 19th. So right around then it was about 24. It's still at 24. There was a couple peaks and valleys between that time. We had buy points listed as 19 and 23 with a resistance point of 24. So that kind of makes sense why it's uh, slowing down and maybe pulled back in the more recent times. There's not much news related to this, uh, but I'd still like to address the weighting of the index. So you can see all of it's in technology up top, and then below you can see the top 10 holdings make up 60% of this index fund, and that makes sense. I mean, there's not that many well-known semiconductors, so we do have our usual suspects here. We have AMD, ASML, Intel. This is Broadcom. Um, I recognize this symbol, but I'm not sure which one that is again. We have Micron, Nvidia, Qualcomm, TSM, and Texas Instruments. So nothing is like overweight in my opinion. I feel like AMD is one of the bigger ones, so that makes sense. I probably would have put more in ASML. Broadcom seems fair. Intel, because they haven't been performing well, yeah, maybe keep them low, but overall, I think I would personally probably have them higher, especially if they can get things going in like 2 or 3 years. I would put Intel a lot higher than 4 or 5%. Micron's at 4, Nvidia's at 8. I'm a little surprised Nvidia's not the number one holding out of all these, but it's second. Qualcomm, I'm a little hesitant on that. That's probably a decent uh, percentage allocation, but based on the others, seems kind of high to me. TSM, I'd probably have them higher. That's probably fair. Texas Instruments, but yeah. So because there's not much news, let's go into the technical analysis. So right now we're at 24. Last time we looked was this green bar. It was over the weekend when we looked, so we're almost exactly where we left off. A couple weeks went past where it hit a more recent high, continuing the uptrend. But then last week it's pulled back some. So we still have this uptrend in mind. What we're going to do is just kind of build this out. This is a very new index fund. This is actually the very beginning. It was established mid 21. And so let's just start off by uh, adding in another trend line here. And I'm not going to hit everything. That seems pretty parallel. So, I'll keep that. We'll change it to purple just so we know what's going on here. Let's click that one, make that this purple, and let's stretch this out a couple more weeks just to see how it goes. So that takes us out to June, and then this one, we'll take that one out to June as well. And again, I might want to drop this down just a little bit. Okay, I feel comfortable with that. So again, 24 was resistance, I felt, because we saw number one, that's right around where the index started, and you can see that acted as support for a number of weeks, or actually in this case, close to a year. And then, of course, that downtrend happened, hit the semiconductors very hard. So this is expected. Uh, but you can see it wanted to come back to that point once, twice, and now here we are trending upwards. I think for our situation right now, um, we'll keep that in, but I think what we'll do is we'll just make it a finer line, because right now that uptrend, I think it's going to be locked in. So this truly is just resistance point. It's not really maybe we should get out of it. So that's the whole purpose of, changing that line. I think the next point, which again, not much weight to this one, but a little bit at 27. So because this is such a small value stock, the gap seems large, but it's really just a couple dollars. If I was looking into buying this one, let's see. If we just kind of scroll into it a little more, I guess next week, I think there's a chance that it could touch back to, say, 23. That would be my buy point, somewhere in the 23s. The further along we go, the more that's just going to start to creep up. The pattern with this one seems to be it'll have a quick rise and then it'll trade sideways for a while, a little quick rise, trade sideways for a while. So if we just were to project into the future a little bit, what I imagine would be the case, something like this. It goes up very drastically, kind of trades sideways, goes up to here, so it didn't go to the peak, and I think what we'll see is something like that, something like here, and then trade a little drastically, and maybe that's a little too extreme. Maybe it's going to pull back into this type of range, and so with that in mind, maybe we'll see something like that, looking out till like June. We'll make this one yellow just because that's like a prediction line, based on, again, just kind of the pattern we're seeing. And it does seem like it's slowing down. I mean, these were like massive leaps, and now it seems to be slowing down. Unless this turns around next week, we'll see. But otherwise, if I'm looking to catch this one, it's actually probably at like 24, but this one could, pull back faster. So I'm shooting for 23. Ultimately, I feel like it's an okay time to buy. Once again, due to the uptrend, I wouldn't be opposed to it. And again, the buy point that I have mapped out is like 23, so it's not that big of a deal. I think if you want to be a little more risk diverse and just have a index fund that covers all our semiconductors, I think this is a nice play. But if you want a little more risk, go into AMD, NVIDIA. We're also going to be covering those over time. But yeah, I think it would be nice to have this just in your bundle because it's safer, it's risk diverse, and of course I like that. This one, I want to just pull this back a little bit. I feel like that's more appropriate, like here-ish. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much else. In terms of resistance, 27, I don't really feel like we're going to run into too much resistance there either. Yeah, we'll just see how this plays out. I did have this marked here, which I could maybe drag that out a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll probably hit our heads there just for a little bit, and then the uptrend will continue unless something like newsworthy pops up. But outside of that, I think this trend's going to continue in a very similar fashion. But overall, by all means, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'd be happy to read those. But here's a quick summary. So SOXQ, semiconductors, currently at 24. The buy points I've listed out are 23. Anything in 23, even if it was like 23.90, I think that's the best you're going to get anytime soon. And then, of course, 19, if it starts to drop again, we'd wait for that point. And then resistance at 24, we're kind of seeing that taking place right now. And then, of course, we noted that it's in a slight uptrend. So that pretty much wraps this up. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.